at how your equipment affects the life and reliability of the drilling line. We'll show you what you can do to extend the service life of the line and avoid damage that could jeopardize your safety. In a minute, we'll look at the deadline anchor, deadline stabilizers, crown block, traveling block, wireline guide, and the various parts of the drawworks. Let's start at the beginning, when a new drilling line is delivered to the rig. When a line is delivered to you, inspect the outside layer for damage. If it wasn't loaded or tied down properly, there could be broken wires called wickers, or there could be flattened strands. When a spool is loaded properly, the load chains are not in contact with the wire rope where they could cause damage. When unloading, don't roll the line through mud or water or over sharp objects. A new line should be tagged with its size. If there's ever any doubt about the diameter, measure it. A 1 3/8 inch line can look an awful lot like a 1 1/2 inch line. The diameter is critical because it must match the sheaves on the crown and traveling block. If it doesn't match, you'll have excessive wear. The diameter of the line is also important as it relates to the breaking strength of the line. Measure the largest diameter of the line. Here, the calipers are set across the valleys between strands. The reading will be wrong. If your calipers will just rotate around the line, then you have the right setting. Try to keep the line out of the dirt between the reel and deadline anchor. Lay some boards down if there's any distance in between. Here's a crew stringing up a new drilling line. Since this is a new rig, the crew strings a manila rope through the blocks in order to pull the drilling line through. They use a snake to fasten the rope and drilling line together. If we were simply replacing an old drilling line with a new one, the crew would attach the end of the new line to the dead end of the old drilling line using the snake. By using the drawworks to reel in the old line, the new line would follow, making for a quick and easy string up. Okay, we've got our snake secure. A truck is being used here, but a hoist, winch, or cathead can also be used to pull the rope, which pulls the drilling line through each sheave. Notice that the supply reel was placed on the drilling line stand so that the line feeds off the bottom of the reel. If the reel unspools too fast, we just have some loose wraps on the reel. But if we had placed the reel incorrectly with the line feeding off the top, we'd have loops on the ground that could kink. It's important that these wraps be tight so that the next layer of line won't cut in between the wraps. As a general rule, you want about 12 wraps of line on the drum with the traveling block at the pickup point. It's absolutely essential that you remember to set the crown-o-matic after string up, after cut off, and after running unusually long stands. And always be sure you string up enough lines for the job. Likewise, don't pull near the capacity of the line. A total hook load over 300,000 pounds is pretty hefty and worthy of some attention. Now let's look at the line handling equipment. It's obvious that you have to loosen the deadline anchor whenever you're slipping new line into the derrick. Make sure that you retighten this anchor before you release the traveling block from its hang line. The anchor has soft brass inserts to protect the line. When they lose their concave shape, replace them so they won't damage the line. The sensator for the weight indicator is installed on the anchor. When a weight is put on the line, it pulls here, and the anchor pivots on this pin. This slight movement will be detected by the sensator. In order to keep the weight indicator accurate, it's important that the anchor pivots freely. Keep the anchor and pin clear of dirt, mud, or ice. And grease the anchor often. You can't over-grease it. And free movement at the pin is crucial to the operation of the weight indicator. To ensure accuracy, make sure this gap in the sensator is about 5/8 of an inch. With empty blocks, you should just be able to stick your finger in the gap. If it gets under a 1/2 inch, your weight readings will be wrong, so you'll need to pump more pressure into the sensator.
First, remove the cap from the check valve. We put the pump on, just very loosely right at first. fill the pump with W15 fluid. Then we're going to purge the pump now. And the reason we do this is keep from inducing more air into the system. You pump very slowly until you get this fluid leak right here coming out of there. Then we tighten just snug. And then we go ahead and pump up the sensator until we get a gap here approximately equal. These three gaps approximately equal. And this is with the slip set and only the block weight. And after you've achieved that, remove the pump. Then replace the cap. And just put the cap back on just snug. It doesn't have to be real tight.
Don't let your sensator stay in this condition. It has to be free to move when weight's put on the line, so hose the sensator off frequently. A deadline stabilizer keeps the deadline from wobbling around. This will prevent some stress that can weaken the line. If you have stabilizers, use them. Let's follow the deadline on up to the crown. The crown block shivs should be greased daily. Occasionally check the shiv grooves for wear. Using a groove gauge, if you see light under the gauge, the shiv is worn too much. It should be regrooved or replaced. Also look for burrs, rough areas, or cracks. If a shiv has become corrugated with the pattern of the drilling line, it should be replaced. Likewise, check for broken flanges. Any of these problems can damage and break a line. Use a pry bar to check for play. Don't force it, but if there's obviously an 1/8 inch or more of loose play in the shivs, the bearing or spacers may be bad. Report it to your tool pusher. While you're up there, make sure all the bolts are tight.
Sure that locking plate is on there, that the cap screws are in there, and that the locking wire is still in the cap screws. This one looks all right, so we don't have any concern for it for today anyhow.
Do the same thing on the traveling block. You have to swing these guards down to do a thorough inspection. Look for the same types of damage we looked for on the crown, things that can damage the drilling line. Check the shivs for excessive play, too. Check the grooves for wear. Make sure the locking plate is in place on the pin. Look for cracks and check the welds. The clevis pins should fit tightly. And be sure to put the guards on tight. On a land rig, turn the block around occasionally so the slow-speed shiv becomes the high-speed shiv. And don't forget to grease the shivs. The wireline guide attaches to the derrick and fits around the fast line to prevent excessive flopping. If your derrick requires one, make sure it's installed at the right height and be sure it's in good condition. The safety line should always be secured. Your drawworks should have wireline turnbacks to keep the line from beating against the drum flanges. These will save your line and the drum from rapid wear. Make sure they're set in enough to protect the drum flanges. Check the rubber rollers. They should turn freely, and when this rubber wears down, they should be replaced. We can't stress too much the importance of the Crown-O-Matic. So many drilling line and block accidents result from forgetting to set it. The Crown-O-Matic automatically sets the brakes and shuts off air to the driller's panel when a preset amount of line is wound on the drawworks. Its purpose is to keep the traveling block from being pulled into the crown accidentally. Well, make sure it works. And adjust it to actuate when the traveling block's at a safe distance below the crown. If you're picking up an unusually long stand, you may have to relocate or shut off the Crown-O-Matic. And the tower before you might have done the same thing. So check it when you come on tower and whenever you cut the line. If you don't set it, you may find out what happens when a drilling line breaks. For information on setting and resetting the Crown-O-Matic and maintaining it, see Sedco's program on the Crown-O-Matic. Whenever you've got the line off your drawworks, check it out. Look for damaged grooving. Inspect the wear plates. Sooner or later, they'll wear to the point they need replacing. A worn wear plate sets the line off course. You'll see the line sparking as it rubs on the bed layer of line. The result? Extreme crossover damage. Remember the 3 steps to maintaining a safe, dependable drilling line? The first 2 steps we covered in part 1 of this series. Step 1 is a good cutoff program. Step 2 is visual inspection of the drilling line. The third step to dependable drilling line is equipment maintenance. Keep the inserts on the anchor concave. Use deadline stabilizers. Inspect the crown sheaves often. Keep them greased. Inspect and grease the traveling block sheaves too. If there's no guide system built into your derrick, you should have a wireline guide. Your drawworks should have turnbacks. They should roll freely. Replace the rollers if the rubber wears off. Inspect the grooving and wear plates on your drawworks whenever you have the chance. Set that Crown-O-Matic. Keep it set and check it often. You'll avoid a tragic accident that could cost a lot in time, money, and lives. Use your good common sense. If your safety is in doubt, let your driller or tool pusher know. Report any damage or damaging conditions. Your life could be hanging by that drilling line.